Companies throughout time have done their best job to come up with the next big car that will make them huge profits. While some of these might not be the fastest cars on the streets, their design will certainly make you turn your head and wonder how the heck did they come up with that thing? From cars that can actually fly to others that seem rather extraterrestrial, here are the most unusual cars ever created. And make sure to smash that subscribe button so we can get to 1 million subscribers. Now who's ready for an American Eye video? Number 14. General Motors FIREBIRD. Designed in 1950, General Motors designed a series of prototype cars that were on display at various auto shows to show off futuristic designs. They were never really meant to be sold on the market, so very interesting features were incorporated. It's interesting to see what car companies of the 1950s would think the future of a car would look like. This photo here shows the FIREBIRD 1, which was very similar to the design of a fighter jet. Despite it looking cool, the design was rather impractical, especially only having one seat. This photo here shows the FIREBIRD 2, which seemed a little bit more practical for purchase, containing 4 seats. It's made entirely from titanium, which was typically a material that only the government knew about at the time. The FIREBIRD 3 also looks pretty cool, but might have been kinda hard to talk to the person next to you. Number 13. The Ferrari MODULO. Is it a spaceship, or possibly a crazy car design by Ferrari? The Ferrari MODULO was put on display at the Geneva Motor Show in 1970. It's certainly not exactly how you expect an Italian supercar to look. The design is so angular that you almost have to suspect that it can avoid radar detection. The body was extremely low to the ground and had a canopy-style glass roof that could allow for people to jump in. This car wasn't all for show either. It could apparently reach a max speed of 220 miles an hour and go from 0 to 60 in just 3.1 seconds. Despite the odd design, it won 22 different awards for its appearance. Only one unit was ever produced, and it was sold to James Glickenhaus in 2014, who collects rare automobiles. Number 12. The Wienermobile. Maybe your girlfriend might enjoy a smooth ride on the Wienermobile? You might be familiar with the ice cream truck rolling around your neighborhood, but you might be a little bit surprised when the Wienermobile comes crashing through your garage like we see in this photo. This vehicle was designed by Oscar Mayer in 1936 as a promotional tool that would go to various places such as schools, orphanages, and children's hospitals and hand out hot dogs to hungry kids. It saw a little break from action between 1936 and 1952, but eventually a new one was built that used a Dodge chassis. Currently, there are 11 Oscar Mayer Wienermobiles on duty, and the lucky people who get to drive them are known as hot doggers. In 2007, the drivers were actually caught with stolen license plates that read "Yummy" from Wisconsin. In 2009, they were also met with criticism from Hawaii, who had a strict billboard ban. Number 11. The 1970 LANCIA STRATOS HF0. This fancy Italian prototype comes from the Italian supercar company known as LANCIA, and their design seems to be like a prelude to Lamborghinis for modern times. The LANCIA STRATOS was first unveiled to the public in 1970 and designed by Marcello Gandini. After being inside a museum for a few decades, it was eventually sold in 2011 at an auction for €761,000. It was put on an exhibit at the High Art Museum in Atlanta and also in New York City. It even reached its celebrity status by appearing in the 1988 film called Moonwalker, starring Michael Jackson. Number 10. Dodge Diora. This strange half-pickup truck, half-sedan was introduced as a concept car in 1965, and certainly it was one of a kind. It was also a prototype for a Hot Wheels car, and the toy was actually auctioned in 2009 for $230,000. The actual design of the car was based on the Dodge A100 pickup, but more compact of course. At that time, it was meant to look like a futuristic design, but didn't really seem to catch on with consumers and just remained a concept design. However, it was a success selling in the future due to limited numbers of these cars available in modern times. In 2009, the Diora was put up for auction, and like its Hot Wheel design, it sold for a big wad of cash. $324,000. Number 9. The Aero Car. In 1949, some people thought that maybe the normal person can own a plane in a similar manner to how everyone owns a car. Whether or not it went for a reasonable price, not everyone was meant to be a pilot. It was basically a car that towed wings with it, and when you wanted to fly, you put the wings on. An American aviation's pilot came up with the design, but unfortunately, the idea never caught on. There's only one in the world that even exists, and only 5 were produced. Its market price is a small fortune, currently at $1.5 million. But they still fly today. You have to wonder if maybe the government wanted to suppress this type of technology to the average person. Number 8. The DeLorean car, Back to the Future. 6 DeLorean DMC cars, one being a non-working replica, were used in the making of the Back to the Future movie. A few were on display at Universal Studios locations in Orlando and in Hollywood. After a few fix-ups, one was sold for $541,000. These odd-looking cars were one of the first to actually have vertically rising doors. DeLorean stated that in 2017, they'll be selling 300 models that are expected to cost around $100,000 a pop. But no news yet if they're complete with time travel capabilities. What would you do with a time machine, and what would you have invested in with time traveling capabilities? Let us know in the comments section, and maybe we'll feature you in an upcoming video. Number 7. The 1929 Duesenberg Model J. In 1965, Elvis appeared in the short film known as Spinout, which was about a lead singer for a traveling band who was also known to engage in some street racing activity from time to time. One of the things that most people remember about this film is the car that he used to drive in it. This car, known as the 1929 Duesenberg Model J, was already rare enough as it is, but then once you add Elvis to the mix, it gets really expensive. This type of car would have been driven like a Lambo back in the days in the 1920s. We imagine the car alone is worth about $500,000, but it went on sale at auction in 2011 and racked in a total of $1.2 million. Number 6. The Pontiac Aztek. You can feel safe about getting an Aztek because it's doubtful that anyone would like to steal it. Aztek first appeared on the market in 2001 and was immediately the subject of ridicule as one of the ugliest cars ever created. General Motors expected to sell 75,000 of these cars per year, but they fell short by roughly 50,000 sales the first year. Only 27,000 were sold, and they were forced to slash their prices. Despite the exterior design, many people gave it good reviews. They decided to discontinue the production of the Aztek in 2005. It eventually experienced a resurgence of popularity after making an appearance on the hit show called Breaking Bad. Number 5. The MERCEDES-BENZ POPEMOBILE. Possibly the holiest of all mobiles out there, the POPEMOBILE was designed to be used for the Pope when he makes a public appearance. In 1981, the Pope John Paul II was shot by a Turkish assassin. Both got on his side. He survived 4 gunshot wounds. This would call for a specialized armored vehicle specifically designed for His Holiness. Keeping in mind that not everyone out there is a fan of the Catholic Church, the Pope does it in style with a Mercedes-Benz fitted with bulletproof windows. While the Pope is visible to the public, he's also well protected, and it uses a similar technology as the Beast, or presidential limousine. The Pope hasn't had any assassination attempts on his life recently, so we're guessing the POPEMOBILE is getting its job done. It's also able to resist bomb blasts due to its reinforced armored side panels. Number 4. 1960 PININFARINA. During the 1950s and 60s, it appeared as though car designers were trying to make their automobiles as aerodynamic as possible. But this one, designed by PININFARINA, looks more water dynamic. During an experiment period, they tested out this vehicle with only 3 wheels and a teardrop design. It was able to pump out an unimpressive 43 horsepower, and despite the 4 doors, it was rather impractical. It did turn out to be rather aerodynamic in any case, and it gets a decent fuel mileage per gallon. It stayed inside a museum for the company, but was eventually sold to a private buyer. Number 3. Thrust SSC. Although you can't legally own this car, it deserves a spot on this list because, well, it's a supersonic car. This automobile that resembles the Batmobile uses jet propulsion and was the first car to officially break the sound barrier. Weighing more than 5 cars combined, this beast weighs in at 10 tons and has a total thrust of 50,000 pounds. It was first tested out in the Black Mountains of Nevada on a dry lake bed by a British Royal Air Force pilot. The car is roughly 54 feet long and used jet fighter engines. It's a miracle this thing didn't take off the ground and start to fly. It set the fastest land speed record by hitting 763 miles an hour. This was done by Andy Green in October of 1997 with this car, and it's hard to see that record getting beat. Number 2. The 1962 Peel P50. Is this actually a car or a go-kart? In 2010, the Peel P50 won the world record as the smallest production car ever made. It was designed to be the bare minimum, with enough space to seat an adult in a shopping bag. But sometimes big things come in small packages, and with only 27 in existence, they're able to sell for a big price tag. In 2016, one of them sold at auction for a whopping $176,000 US. That person spent quite a bit for a car that can only go 28 miles an hour. And number 1, the VW SCHWIMMWAGEN. Europe is full of rivers and lakes, which can make it difficult to launch assaults behind enemy lines. But not if you got a state-of-the-art SCHWIMMWAGEN. Built by Volkswagen, this was not one of the most reliable amphibious vehicles made in history, but also it was the most mass-produced. This meant it had to be good for something, right? It actually evolved into the Volkswagen Bug after World War II. Featuring 4-wheel drive, a 4-cylinder air-cooled engine, roughly 14,265 SCHWIMMWAGENs were ever produced. When it went into swim mode, it used front tires as a rudder, and a screw propeller could be lowered from the reed deck engine cover. The screw propeller could be used for going backwards and not just forwards. The lightweight vehicle only weighed a ton unloaded. It could fit a 4-man crew and reach a max speed of 52 miles per hour on the land, but a slow 5 miles per hour on water. So what'd you guys think of that video? Be sure to hit like, comment, and subscribe, and check out some more of our videos. We got hundreds of them.